Let's see if I can deal with this little guy. Linda's already sort of summarized the history of the trust. It was incorporated in 2009 and spent several years trying to raise some private philanthropy in order to have enough cash to get started. When they hired me in 2014, I forgot to look in the checkbook before I said yes. It was very, very motivating. There was enough money to keep the lights on till Christmas. And so finding some more money was really goal one. And then the second year, we got our first set of funding of a federal program called HOME, which is the only federal acronym that doesn't stand for anything that I know of. H-O-M-E, all caps. It doesn't seem to mean anything. We bought a house and rehabbed it, as Linda said, and then we bought, the next year we bought a lot, and we built a house on that, and now, you may have seen the story in the paper late February. We're in the process of buying 12 lots and building 4 houses. So the landscape of affordable ownership is a really broad one, and I'm only going to talk to you a little corner of it. But you know, it's owning a mobile home. It's what Habitat is doing. It's buying some sort of a fixer-upper and then just living in it and working on it indefinitely. I have a couple of friends who bought from their landlord and got some sort of a sweetheart deal in that transaction. What we're doing and our counterpart in, I keep going at the screen, our counterpart in Whitman County Community Action. And then another piece of this whole puzzle people keep talking to me about is downsizing and aging in place. And I haven't figured out how to work with that group because they tend to come with more capital than I can work with in the nature of the home program. Let me just show you who we're serving. Depending on household size, this is the income bracket. So when I look at those numbers, I say there are a lot of real full-time jobs in Moscow that pay those wages. Yep. And if that's, you know, a household of 2 is a divorced or separated adult and child, 2 and 3 could well be that. A household of 4 could be 2 wage earners who still don't get out the top of that income bracket. So when I finally came to understand that, I realized these are my friends and neighbors. And this is the core of the workforce of Moscow. A lot of folks are earning in those income ranges. So thinking about affordability, I think about it in 3 parts. The mortgage payment, taxes and insurance, all that stuff wrapped up. But the utilities are another piece. Some people have a relatively inexpensive house within a $250 electric bill in January. Does that still stay affordable? And then the third piece, my board's commitment is that we're working in Moscow. Chartered Latah County in terms of a corporate charter, but the focus is on Moscow because the jobs are here. And the thought is on the part of the board that if we were working out in the outlying communities, then you're making people who are coming to work here dependent on a car. It means that car has to be reliable. If your car broke down when you lived in Moscow and you worked in Moscow, you might be late to work, but you wouldn't get fired for not getting to work. That's kind of the balance that the board is thinking about. So focusing on Moscow. Let's talk about what the nature of the affordability problem is. Here are the 5 most expensive housing markets in the state of Idaho. And then the places change place. We've just beat out Valley County for the first time. We used to be number 5, we're moving up. The last time I looked at this, these 2 were reversed. It has to do with relatively small markets, and somebody sells a $750,000 home and it pulls up the average a bunch. But, so you get an idea that we are in a different kind of niche, and what I realized is we're a resort community. No lake, no snow. Why are we a resort community? Because people with outside resources come here. In our case, they're students. They come with mom and dad's money, they come with loans, they come with grants. But they come in and they buy into our housing market with resources that they are not earning as salaried workers in our market. So they can spend differently. Just as movie stars come to Sun Valley and spend with money made in LA on houses in Sun Valley, okay? Then the other way to look at it is if you take the 80% of the area median income, those numbers, you'll recognize that one's the top of the 4-person household. And you calculate the ratio, the kind of unaffordability, which is how much of your salary, or how many times more expensive is the house than your salary. We're also pulling a pretty good rank there. That is, our houses are relatively expensive compared to our wages. So, this is the slide from going and talking to too many mortgage lenders. Here are these income ranges again. Low 20s to low 30s, 30 to 50 for a 4-person household. So I went in, I sat down, buying cups of coffee and say, okay, let's think about this. If I earned $40,000, kind of in the middle of all of that range, that was my household income, how much could I borrow, lender? Well, so they're going to go through the process of saying, well, 41, this program might give you 41% of your gross. And then of course we have to take off taxes, we have to take off insurance. We start to work through what could your monthly payment be, what would that mortgage be? And you get numbers like that. But I said, now, oops, I happen to have a couple of $100s of monthly debt, which really, when you think of it, a couple of $100 of monthly debt is not much. That's not much of a car payment. It's not much of any kind of payment, really. If you do that, you drop down to some much lower fraction of income, and the value of the house that you can buy is much lower. So I took my board through this exercise, and they concluded we need to have, in order to be affordable, houses have to be priced here. That is over here at 160. You'll remember the previous slide, the median price was over 200, but we need it to be affordable to be down at 160. So let's look at what's available in Moscow. This is now 2015 data, so it's a little bit old, and it's the tax assessor data. So remember to round up a pinch, right? 3% by law varies a little bit, but these are condos and some older houses. These are older houses, and these at the top end are outside the range of what our buyer can buy. Our buyer is buying top half of this and half of that. And we're talking about the median income, 80% of the median income. So there are a lot of people whose income, they can't even get in here. They're renting. And these are people who are making the median income over 50,000, and these are people who are above the median who are buying those houses. So that gives you a sense for what the problem is. So let's talk about the affordability gap. Here's buyer number one. This is the fair market value of the house. This is the financing the buyer can bring to the table. They're two equal, happy day. Here's buyer number two. Fair market value, but the buyer can only bring that much to the table. They are short the affordability gap. So the question is, how can you bridge that gap? Various strategies: sweat equity, getting a grant, getting another kind of loan. The habitat model, sweat equity, is the way that they're approaching it. The way that the Housing Trust is doing it is home money, only because it's home money, comes with this very special quality. When you buy the house that was built with home money, they can leave up to $15,000 behind in the second loan. So this little red bit can be $15,000. And that second loan is a very nice loan. It's like getting a loan up for your down payment, basically, because you only need $500 down. $15,000 loan, zero interest, zero payments, due when you sell the house. Live in it as long as you want. have the free use of that $15,000, sell the house, pay it back to Uncle Sam. So that's the strategy that we use to bridge that affordability gap. But there would be other strategies, but that's the challenge, how to bridge the gap. So our first house we bought was it had been in foreclosure. So I understand that the previous owner had passed away, it had gone into the estate, it had wandered around in limbo land, finally come out, nobody was making payments on it, the bank got it. Somebody in the meantime had turned off the heat, frozen the water pipes, flooded the crawl space. It was a fixer-upper. The second house, I couldn't find a supply of those. I worked with the tax assessor, because they have to be newer than 1977, lead paint. The feds know about lead paint, they don't want to be involved with lead paint, so they tell me nothing that's older. Prescriptive, if it could be lead paint or not, you know, at that age or earlier or not, but they just say, there's the line, stay on this side of the line. So when I did an exercise with the tax assessor. Pat is a great guy, I'm probably the only guy who says, his whole office is my friend. Anyway, so I did an exercise with them, and I determined that in Moscow there were 145 houses that might qualify for my requirements. Age, price, da-da-da-da-da. Nobody says they're for sale, nobody says they're beat up, just that they exist. So we started to build a new house because we couldn't find, bought a small lot over on Morton Street, started to build a new house because we couldn't find rehabs to fix up. And this is the exercise, I won't belabor it. Different ways, I was trying to ask the question, what is the house with a fair market value between 160 and 170,000? It's a design question. It's not the realtor's question, given the house, what's its value? It's the reverse question. Given a value, what is the house? Okay? And so, the city of Moscow tells you your value works like that. The tax assessor without a garage says that, with a garage says that. Here are some actual sales of houses kind of in this 1,000 to 1,500 square foot price range. And the tax values of those sales gives you an idea that the tax assessor is fairly close. So I did that exercise and I did another one. Again, tax assessor data. What is the effective age on price? So these houses are all existing in Moscow between those two sizes. Because I'm concluded from the last graph, I don't have to be small, I have to be 1,000 square feet. So let's see what we can learn. And guess what? The older the house, the cheaper the house. $836 a year is the slope of that line. Obviously there's a lot of noise in it, but the other interesting thing is, this is what drives the appraiser crazy, 2010 is the last one built. We're out here. So there's no comp in terms of there's no more being built like it. Here's what you get. You get all of those numbers. There it is, 306 East Martin Street. It is now under contract, and the sale price was $165. It's 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,000 square feet.